Welcome to the crypto trading channel. My name is Stu. Guys, Bitcoin is seeing a very nice recovery after our last little dump last night. Is it possible the bottom is actually in? I still have a feeling we end up seeing lower prices and that celebrations are a little premature, but I am also very happy to be wrong about that. And of course, there is plenty of opportunities to be played both directions in this crazy volatile market. So if you are here as a trader, trading the charts for what they are rather than holding on to hopium lottery tickets, do me a favor, hit that like button, and of course, subscribe to the channel. And with that, let's take a quick look, zoomed right into the 5-minute chart here, you guys. Nice to see that with my Oracle Pro Plus indicator here by Chart Prime, we have got this bullish cross on this indicator with these two reactor bands, and we did end up flipping them both green. So that is fantastic to see right now. Not only that, but just looking at the chart structure for what it is. Let's actually remove the indicators and just look at these. Notice that I already have mapped out the higher highs and the higher lows on the trend. And to be fully honest here, you guys, we have seen our first little glimpse of weakness here just a few minutes ago, basically by losing this confirmed higher low on the trend. So far today, we have just been forming this beautiful uptrend since basically testing our 4-hour support levels once again. But yeah, so far, I mean, you can see this just marking out where all of our higher highs were and therefore confirming the higher lows that are the lowest points basically between each of these points basically. So we even did manage to get a little bit of a STUBER scalp down here where we did have this higher high pulling a fib like that. We did see a STUBER fib retracement there. So got into a bit of a scalp, but I only have about a quarter of that position still running at this point. But yeah, so far, love to see what I'm seeing. Like I say, this is our first little bit of weakness. And even just right now, you can see that we've technically started a little bit of a downtrend because we had this little bounce and we're trying to go lower. We've already wicked a little bit lower. So setting at this point, a very, very micro lower low. But basically just confirming this this higher low on the trend, on the micro trend there, has so far flipped from support into resistance when we ended up losing it. So again, that is a bit of a sign of weakness at this point. But I mean, it has been a very nice rally. So some sort of a correction is obviously expected eventually. But the great thing about this is, like I was just talking about with this Oracle Pro Plus indicator here, is that, you know, the fact that this has crossed bullish and we do have a couple of green reactors below us now just when it loads here. Basically, Bitcoin on this little pump has done a great job of building some support along the way, right? We had our little consolidation areas where we're just building little bits of support on the way up. So, and on top of that, just having confluence with an indicator such as this. So love to see that. And of course, guys, those of you who are interested in seeing way more examples of how I'm looking at market structure in general, some of my trade setups, strategies, warnings, and so on, be sure to scan the QR code to gain access to my private Telegram channel, which will also grant you free unlimited algo bot trading as well due to our exclusive partnership with Prime Automation. But guys, yeah, so far, like I said, I would really like to see this downtrend broken sooner than later. I'm actually going to just clean up my chart a little bit now that you've seen basically these little microstructure levels that I was watching. Basically, I'm going to keep the support levels, all these confirmed higher lows on the trend. But obviously, like I said, this one has flipped so far, basically from support into resistance. So at this point, if Bitcoin could very quickly basically reclaim this even, that would be a great sign to me that, hey, maybe there's a lot of strength there and we're going to reverse this trend basically immediately. That would be great. Or honestly, even if we come down, get a little bit bigger of a correction and basically let the indicators catch up a little bit and then end up breaking some sort of structure like that, right? That would be great to see as well. So basically, if we were setting just a series of low, lower, low, lower, low, and eventually take out a lower high like that, I think at that point, it would be quite likely that the uptrend is to continue, basically. So that's what I would be watching for on the lower time frames. On the 4-hour, as the title suggests, I think it's possible we end up going back up towards 70K. That would just basically be a retest of resistance of the smaller range that we've formed here. And also that lines up quite well with that same indicator on the 4-hour, right? They're kind of catching up to that resistance level. So to me, I wouldn't be all too surprised, you guys. Honestly, the way that the bulls are kind of hanging on right now, and even the fact that where we dumped to last night, we just ended up basically testing a smaller STUBER, right? We already tested this bigger 786 that I was talking about the other day. But even since that, let me just remove these indicators just so that it is a little bit cleaner and just easier to see. But we do have this little structure here because obviously the big range that I'm more concerned about with the 4-hour, you guys know, is basically the lower high of the 4-hour trend is around 77K. I've been very vocal about that for the last week or two. Until we actually break that, I'm still considering this downtrend intact for the 4-hour, but that doesn't mean we don't see these smaller ranges inside the bigger range, basically, right? And here is an example of we do have this beautiful STUBER fib setup that did play out just because we had this little low, we had a lower low, confirmed lower high, end up breaking that level. So we have that confirmed bullish pivot there, basically. When we start our downtrend, we end up coming back, filling that 786, 886 fib pocket perfectly, actually a little bit lower, but obviously not even close to losing the 115 and even hitting the first target so far. So at this point, I would assume that we're making our way towards the 214 target of that smaller range, which would end up around 68.4K. And then 70K is where we're kind of targeting back to the top of that little range. So again, it's not a... I don't consider this a very important range, the little one that I have mapped out here. I really do think that this big one between the green horizontal level and the red horizontal level, that's the big important range for me before I come to any conclusions on what the long-term trend's actually going to do. If we end up breaking to the downside, even if we get a bounce and reclaim that, that would be a great opportunity for a long to play the bounce, but I would still be very concerned about that lower low. And I'd be looking at shorts at the retest of resistance basically at that point. But so far it is what it is. And much like on the opposite side of things, if we end up breaking that lower high and breaking out of this range, that's where I'd be looking at basically playing longs after some sort of retracements, looking to play pullbacks, you know. But we'll have to see what happens. Obviously, one thing at a time. I have no idea when, if or when we'll end up breaking that range. So far it is what it is. But yeah, I still think based on the longer time frames, I have my big concerns about Bitcoin. However, it's nice to see basic market structure respecting basic market structure, right? The fact that this STUBER fib, even though it's only hit the first target so far, still just being respected very well. So nothing all too crazy happening. And guys, speaking of crazy happening, I'm sure everybody is aware that there is war escalations and that sort of thing. So everyone's saying that, you know, we have to be bearish, we have to dump, or the opposite side of things where I see people saying, you know, war escalations are happening and Bitcoin only dumped that much and has already ended up reversing and pumping. So therefore the bottom is in. All of those statements, you guys, we have no idea, right? I mean, you guys know that I don't really trade fundamentals. I just look at charts for what they are. And in my opinion, at least, it is way more often that charts predict global events and charts basically predict the news rather than the opposite way, which most people want to turn to news and turn to headlines and tweets and that sort of thing to get an edge on the market, when generally speaking, you are going to be late to that information and the move has already played out. So that's a perfect example why I think, you know, we got that dump, then we hear about wars escalating. And then basically people, as soon as people start getting bearish on that, all of a sudden we start seeing this recovery, right? So I really want to see what happens on Monday morning when the markets open. I think that will be quite telling. I would not be too surprised to see when the actual markets open, the traditional markets, that we could see some panic at that point. But honestly, we'll just have to see what happens, right? If those fundamentals with those global events happening are going to matter, then we will see the chart structure proving that, right? You can't just hang on to a fundamental opinion and have no invalidation to that theory, right? That's the whole magic with being able to trade charts, is at least you have levels to watch for, right? You have take profit levels, you have invalidation levels, and all that sort of thing. So guys, if you are realistic traders and you like trading the charts for what they are and trading the charts that are currently there rather than the charts that you hope appear in a few months from now, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up. Again, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, because we just try and basically keep a level head around here and look at the markets for what they are. Because when we really zoom out here, you guys, people celebrating that, thinking that the bottom is in, when let's actually zoom out to a weekly time frame. If we're going to talk about an actual bottom, we need to focus on the actual macro structure of this chart. There is literally nothing bullish on this chart when we zoom out. Don't get me wrong, it's possible that we bounce, right? The fact that technically our RSI is oversold, I'll give it that. That doesn't necessarily mean we have to bounce right now, though, right? It is just something suggesting that, hey, it's at least possible. So I'm open to the idea that we could have bottomed because, we have the weekly oversold, we have the 4-hourly respecting support levels, but at this point, that's just the downtrend has not been broken on the 4-hour. Therefore, on the daily, it also hasn't been broken. And the weekly, it obviously hasn't been broken. The weekly, the lower high is all the way up at 98K. So the bulls have, I don't want to discredit the bulls because, yeah, there's totally long opportunities in the market, right? Like I said at the start of the stream, I'm actually in a long because I took a scalp and it just turned into a bit of a runner. So I still have a chunk of that running. I'm totally open to the idea of playing this market bullishly and taking those scalp setups and just the trade opportunities as they come. But I also wanted to be very realistic and be open to any possibility. And I still think that it's possible we do end up testing 40K. And I'm not one of those people jumping on that 5 months late after we started the dump and now starting to say 40K. You guys know that I've been talking about 40K as a potential level just due to a typical STUBER fib setup. I've been talking about that since October, and I still think it's possible. Best thing Bitcoin could do is rip that Band-Aid off, in my opinion anyways, and just get it over with. But it's very possible that we would also just do something like this where we get a big bounce, really suck the moon boys in, then have some sort of catalyst happen where we end up seeing the price dump down to the STUBER fib and then start our next actual bull market. I would not be too surprised to see that, but obviously there's a lot of what ifs between now and then. I'm not the kind of guy who's going to say that, hey, I'm not buying any crypto until these levels because we're for surely hitting them. No, analysis is one thing. It's just a way to plan ahead in case things happen. But you know what? Bitcoin's been cut in half. I'm more than okay taking some of you guys know I've been shorting this market aggressively since October, since about 125K. I have no problem DCAing into my spot positions when Bitcoin has been cut in half. At that point, yeah, I personally think we do end up going lower eventually. But as a responsible trader, I am open to the possibility of being wrong, much like the same reason I use a stop loss. I'm open to the idea of being wrong, and therefore I am willing to DCA at these prices. Because if we do go into another bull market eventually, I'm sure these will not end up being bad prices. And since I am bullish very long term on crypto, I'm totally open to the idea of seeing lower prices and scooping up as much as I possibly can. And anyone thinking that it's not possible, we hit that 40K level. Every other market cycle so far has hit the STUBER fib setup. You guys know on the 5-minute, I'm pointing those out all the time in the Telegram, on this YouTube channel, all over the place. I'm always talking about these STUBER fibs, whether it's the 5-minute, 1 hour, 4 hour, daily, weekly, whatever. I treat all market structure the same with all time frames. And I still think that that's a reason why it's absolutely possible we end up seeing those levels. But again, very happy to be wrong about that theory. Let me know in the chat how you guys are feeling on the market. Are you excessively bullish, excessively bearish? Do you think it's all over? Do you think it's straight to the moon from here? I honestly think, if anything, I just think that we would form some sort of a bigger range of accumulation rather than just a V-shaped recovery myself. But yeah, we're just going to have to see what the market gives us. And I just want to say thank you guys for being here with me. I see 20 people watching right now. So if you guys are here and you appreciate these live streams, these market updates, do me a favor, hit that like button, show your appreciation for this as well. Appreciate each and every one of you, my friends. How much do I manage my bots? One of your bots took a long right at the Stuber resistance and another taking a short at Stuber support. Would you have closed? It depends for me. I usually let them do their own thing, just because you don't really like. I don't know what their invalidations are. I don't know how long they're willing to hold on to them and that sort of thing. But I do have my bots. Like I have about 30 of them running, so I use smaller position sizes. Like I'm only doing about 5% of the botting account at 2x leverage on most of them. So I'm keeping them relatively small, but I'm just mostly letting them do their own thing. Unless I end up seeing some of my bot positions that end up being in a nice profit and I notice that they haven't taken any profits yet, sometimes I will end up manually taking a quarter of the profits and then bumping the stop loss to break even manually, just because I'm not sure exactly what it's doing. And sometimes I'm a bit of a control freak like that. But yeah, so I don't mind if they're automatically taking positions and I see that, hey, it's in a nice profit. Sometimes I'll just manually take some off of my own. But yeah, algo bots, they go through their phases. They obviously have pullbacks. They lose trades, they win trades, but they've been very good at catching some of these big moves. I actually haven't checked my bot account today yet, but like even some of the big short moves. And the other day there was a nice big long. I think there was like 5 or so that caught some nice big longs. So Ethereum, much like Bitcoin, you guys, is well, same thing. We have this smaller Stuber fib has played out, right? We had the bearish one played out. I was talking about this in yesterday's stream where we ended up testing this 786 886 fib pocket again. Did come down and tested that 214 target absolutely perfectly. Right, an absolutely perfect Stuber fib playing out again, which also happens to be that opposite Stuber fib from the bullish side of things, and seeing a bit of a bounce there. So although, yeah, it's a smaller range inside the bigger range, much like what the structure with Bitcoin is doing, but it is nice to see this structure, right? The fact we had this low, lower low, lower high on the trend, end up getting that rejection at the bearish Stuber fib, which puts us down to our entries for our bullish Stuber fib, and so far have hit the first target. The second target would be at about 2,073 US dollars approximately, if it ends up getting up there. Obviously, I think it'll largely depend what Bitcoin does, but yeah, a lot of altcoins looking very similar to Bitcoin, and kind of like what I was talking about yesterday too. Solana, same thing. Solana never did end up testing the second target for the bearish Stuber fib. I had mentioned that yesterday as well. Actually got a reversal a little bit early, and same with on this end, right? But same structure as Ethereum and Bitcoin. We had that low, lower low, confirmed lower high, end up getting rejected at the bearish Stuber fib, get sent down to the bullish Stuber fib, and so far hit the first entry there. This is just another example of why those Stuber fibs are such a great way to spot bull traps and bear traps, right? Just waiting for those retests when people start to get excited, thinking there's a breakout, but maybe not paying attention to where the actual trending resistance, and the same on the opposite end for the support, obviously. But yeah, they are very good at spotting those reversal points quite often, basically. Hype, very similar. I did point out yesterday, actually, there was a bearish one and technically would not have played out, right? The fact that we had, I think it was right here I was talking about in yesterday's stream, that we lost some structure there. So technically there would have been a bearish setup right there. That would be invalidated at this point already. I never did take that bearish setup. I never took this bullish one either. I'm not in a hype position at all. But it does have that same structure that Ethereum, Solana, and Bitcoin all have. The fact that we had that low, lower low, confirmed lower high, break that, eventually come back down to that Stuber fib support, and hype has actually hit the first and second, or sorry, that's not the second one. This is the second one. Getting a little cluttered with multiple Fibonacci pulls there, but I was more so waiting for hype to actually come down towards these levels. That's where I was interested in getting into a long position. So yeah, unfortunately the smaller Stuber fib there front ran me. and never got into my position, but that's okay. I'm still more than happy to see structure being respected like that. I was just hoping for the bigger range to be tested is all. Troll had a nice little pump. Looks like it's coming back to retest support basically. Gold is another one that I wanted to mention just because I think that, I think there's a good chance that someone will request gold here, just because of what's happening globally right now. Right now, gold is getting close to resistance. It has, obviously, I have no idea what's going to happen because it was in such a beautiful uptrend for how long there, you guys. I mean, everyone knows how parabolic gold was going there for a while. But ever since, we're kind of stuck in this range between my two white lines. And that is just simply because this is where we lost our higher low on the trend, which confirmed this as our bearish pivot. Just like here is where we broke our lower high on this little trend. And therefore, that confirms this as our bullish pivot. So the purple boxes are my STUBER fibs, bearish one, bullish one. But yeah, basically, we are getting close to resistance. So although it does look fairly strong to me, it's just important to at least respect resistance when we start getting to those levels, right? Bitcoin, I would love to see basically, before I take off here, just one last thing that I want to talk about just for something to watch for here. What I would love to see Bitcoin do right now is basically end up breaking this resistance, because since we lost this higher low on the micro trend, this is confirmed as our bearish pivot at this point. So I would like to see the bulls be able to push above my red line here at approximately 67,150 US dollars. If we end up getting that higher high, then this yellow line I would switch to white because at this point I'm just basically hoping that that turns into a higher low, but it's not confirmed at this point. But if the price does get above this red line, then I will consider this a confirmed higher low. And that's when I can start looking for bullish pulls again, basically. But it totally depends. If we end up basically going lower from here and breaking below this yellow line, then we're just continuing this newfound little micro downtrend. And whatever, if this ended up being the highs at that point, that would be our confirmed lower high on the trend. But that's a lot of what ifs between now and then. So far, this is basically our confirmed bearish point, and we don't have a confirmed bullish point yet. But like I was talking about earlier, if we do end up dropping more of these support levels, at least we do have this Oracle Pro Plus indicator also showing us a couple of support levels that are going to start curling to the upside and basically being confluence for potential support. So hopefully we can see the bulls carry on with a little momentum. You guys, as bearish as I am very often with Bitcoin the last 5 months or so, I would still love to see this market go full on bull market again. I would love to see a parabolic run. I'd love to see an altcoin season. I'm just trying to approach things very realistically with you guys. So took that long on BTC on the 4-hour stop loss at break even already. Love to hear it, Red Panda. Love to hear it. I see a STUBER fib in the Telegram QR code. They're everywhere. You know, I've joked about that in the past, that you start to see them everywhere. Those of you guys who have been in the Telegram long enough, you probably see them in the clouds. When you look at trees, when you look at buildings, when you look at loved ones, you will see everything being a 786 or an 886 eventually. Did I take the short at 65.3? When was this? Over here, if you're talking about this? No, I did not, if that's the one you're talking about. I'm just kind of guessing at what you might have been looking at. Maybe something like that, which would not actually be a STUBER fib because a higher low was never broken. Unless you're talking about an earlier one. Stubers are elite. I do love my old Stuber fibs. Like I said, they are very good at spotting those reversals, those bull traps, the bear traps. So yeah, basically my question is, do you take every setup, or how do you select the ones to take and the ones you skip on the lower time frames? Yeah, that would depend which one you're actually talking about. If it's the one that I had just mentioned with the fib pull from here, it's because it wasn't an actual Stuber fib. The high from this morning, for me, that would be this little pivot back here, unless you're talking about last night. Like from back there. Oh, are you talking about that one? Maybe with our time zones, yeah. This would have been last night where I saw this dump. If you're talking about this one, I did not play that one, but it would have played out to the first target as well. Perfect 786 rejection. It did hit the 0.5 fib, and then depending how you played it, if you updated your stop loss, probably it would have got stopped at break even or taken a small loss on the rest of your position, depending how you played it. But no, I never did play that one. One of the reasons why I also wouldn't have played it, like I mean, I was sleeping, I think, at that point. But the fact that it's a little bit messy because there was a more immediate Stuber fib that did break already, right? The fact that technically after we dropped this level, we did set this little low and got that bounce there, and then followed by a lower low. And here we ended up breaking that, right? So at that point, the bearish trend was actually broken there already. But either way, like I said, that one technically would have played out as well to the first target at least. Usually I set my stop loss to break even after the second target, but it really depends how I feel on the market, honestly. But usually it's after TP2, because even if you hit TP1 and still get stopped out after, you're going to take a significantly smaller loss on the position, because the loss would then be on a smaller position as well. You have taken some profits on the first quarter and therefore gave yourself a little cushion for the setup. So it really just depends how I'm feeling, basically, on the market in general, on longer time frames and stuff like that. But anyways, guys, I think that's about all I wanted to go over today. So one last time, if you did appreciate this live stream and you appreciate these market updates, please do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And as a reminder, for those of you interested in joining my private Telegram channel, as well as free access to unlimited algo bot trading through Prime Automation, be sure to scan the QR code on the screen or click the link in the description down below. And also, if you want to give the indicators a try that I've been talking about with the Chart Prime indicators, use our link and our discount code to receive 35% off those as well. And with that, I'm out. Stay safe, my friends. Thank you so much for watching once again. Peace out.